Whenever you are.
Meeting call to order. Today is Tuesday, May 6th. It is now 6:06 PM. Town Council meeting, Town Council Chambers, 1170 Main Street, West Florida, Rhode Island.
You ready for the prayer?
Yes, Mark.
We ask for the wisdom to make good decisions, to speak with confidence and listen with compassion, and to work together to create a better way of life for the people of West Florida.
Everybody do this for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Councilman Dennison.
Here.
Councilman Lichardi is absent, Councilman Messier is absent, Council Vice President Williamson. Here. Council President Goslin.
Here.
Quorum is declared. Town Council acting as a sewer commission, bid award for analytical laboratory services. Resolution.
Second.
Moving second, any discussion?
Want to go over it a little bit?
Yes, thanks, Jim.
So our laboratory bid is up in a few months, so we went up to bid. There were three vendors that bid on the contract. We went with the lowest bidder, Eurofins. I reached out to them for references. They provided 3 references, which all responded to me. 2 of the 3 have been with that company for over 20+ years now. One was actually over 25 years. I believe the third company was somewhere 8 to 10 years using them in a row. So I had all good reviews from the references, so we'd like to move forward with using them as a future vendor.
Any questions for Jeff? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you, council.
Thank you, Jeff.
Consent agenda, approval of the minutes from the April 22nd, 2025 regular town council meeting.
Move the consent agenda.
Second.
Moving second, any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Ordinances, second reading of an ordinance authorizing a budget amendment which will move funds to salary lines for raises that occurred as a result of collective bargaining that occurred after the budget was adopted.
Move the resolution, or
Second.
the ordinance, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, move the ordinance, it's not
Second.
the ordinance, yeah.
Moving second, Kristen.
I just would like to add an amendment to do the wastewater accounts. They had budgeted some money in payroll reserve and I didn't include that in the original line items. So it's 4 lines.
Is that on what you sent us?
I had sent it to Sarah, but I don't think it made it to the packet. I
Okay.
can give this to you. I can't, you want copies of this? It's just the email from Tony asking.
Asking for those
Mhm.
forms. Do we have to make an amendment to that?
Yeah.
And then,
You're gonna have to make an amendment,
Yes, we
so
have.
read into the record whatever Kristen's handling.
so
I move that we amend the ordinance.
Second.
moving second, I just want to make sure that it doesn't have to be re-advertised.
I don't believe so, because the initial was, and this is the second reading, the second reading can be amended.
Correct.
All right.
You want me to read into the
Yeah.
record?
Yes.
Okay, so, from account 2000-5428 payroll reserve to account 2000-5110 sewer salaries in the amount of $34,901. Account 2000-5120 department head salary, $2,878. Account 2000-5121 management salaries, $4,620. And account 2000-5243 ICMA in the amount of $528 for the total amount of $42,927.
So do we need to amend the actual ordinance as well to say that it also reflects, because what it says be resolved that
If I may, if there's any discussion on what the clerk just read into the record, you would do that first. If not, you can move on to making the changes.
no, you're just making same adjustments, but because it's a separate budget and yes. And no issue with civic center.
No, I didn't do a
Okay,
reserve.
okay. Yeah. So, Westport Town Council hereby authorizes the budget reallocation to reallocate funds budgeted from general government department FY to the appropriate salary lines and from the
Wastewater payroll reserve.
payroll reserve to the appropriate payroll lines.
Correct. Now, do I make that update or on the actual ordinance?
I think that the attachment, just for clarity, the attachment is where the change is made. It's not on the actual.
No, actually, the
ordinance.
vote,
I
the
think
wording
probably-
has to too, because it just talks about general government, department. And that's not coming from general government departments.
I'll make the edit and resend it to Sarah.
Yes, that'd be terrific, just to include the sewer payroll.
we just said.
Reserve, yes.
Any other comments? Any public comment on this ordinance? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Mark?
Yes.
Mary Beth?
Yes,
I vote.
thank you.
Thank you. Business licenses.
Approval of the business licenses I-01 through 03. There's a whole bunch of sub lines with it.
Second.
Moving second, any discussion? Any public discussion? There's still nobody online.
Nope.
Hearing none, all in favor?
I,
Opposed? Ayes have it, those licenses are the antique secondhand dealers licenses, junk dealers licenses, filling station licenses have all been approved.
Appointments and resignations. Request from Mark Nagara for appointment as tree warden.
I move approval of Mark's appointment, Mark McGarre's appointment as tree warden.
Second.
Moving second, discussion. Finally got his paperwork in.
That's a big day.
Yeah.
It's been a few years.
And he's licensed and we did well, good, so.
Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Congratulations, Mark, if you're listening.
New business. Request from Terry Bertel for access to town right away at 28 Carlton Place.
Yes, Mr. President, if I may, this letter came in from Attorney Thomas Cronin regarding the property at 28 Carlton Place, which has been there for more than 40 years. And what they were seeking was a notarized letter from the council, basically allowing Terry Bertel access, ingress and egress from her property that abuts Carlton Street to Carlton Street. I informed Attorney Cronin that the council speaks through its ordinances and its resolutions, so I believe it would be proper for the council to recommend that the manager sign the notarized letter regarding this issue, and then planner and the director of the Department of Public Works can also sign it. That letter in turn will be sent to DEM, and that should satisfy their request from their letter back on August of 22nd. They were seeking a notarized letter of authorization. So the bottom line is, since the town already accepted the road back in the 80s, there's really no need to duplicate the process by reinventing the wheel and giving her access to this giving her access from her property to Carlton Place.
I guess I don't understand what we're doing, to be honest with you.
There is a situation, Carlton Place is off of West Warwick Avenue, and it's a dead end that abuts Matson's Pond. So because the proximity of the property to Matson's Pond, DEM had to come in
Mhm.
because they reconfigured their driveway. So they're roughly about 1.5 feet within the, I guess you call it the watershed area.
Yeah.
So DEM wants a notarized letter from the town. And since the council's already approved the road way back when, probably the early 80s, and the property.
This does include an addition, right? There's a proposed addition? I'm looking at it.
See, that's why I said it.
The addition, whatever they've already received approval from zoning and planning. And they've received partial approval from DEM, and the letter from DEM, I'll read it out loud. Further application required. You may not proceed with your project because a alteration of freshwater wetland is proposed. Staff comments. It appears that additional alterations are required that have not been depicted. Specifically, access on the town right of way within buffer zone. That's what we're talking about. A notarized letter of approval. The only thing the town has to do is provide the notarized letter. Everything else has been approved, and that's what they're waiting for, even with the addition or the change of the driveway structure.
Okay, so I'm
I'm with you.
having,
with you.
so just assure me that the addition is not going to be encroaching on the right of way. It's just a usable driveway that's gonna get bumped
Yes, before,
Because of the addition.
they had a driveway that now I believe it's being turned into a crushed stone driveway.
Okay.
So that was the issue.
All right.
Now, because of where the property lies, if you're looking at it, to the right is where you're gonna find the pond and the wetland. That's
Yeah.
what the DEM's about.
All right, so the addition is really bumping the driveway. That's
I
where the
would say,
driveway
when you
is
say
going to
bumping,
be.
I would say it's moving it by a really,
Foot and a half.
yes.
And the structure is not, once again, encroaching, and, okay.
Because of the setback issues, which again have changed in the last couple of years, I believe that the addition was already there, but this is dealing strictly from what Attorney Corrington is strictly dealing with the driveway area.
Yeah, I think, Mark, I agree with you. When I read, I am surprised myself too.
If you want to table it and have Mr. Cronin here, that's not a problem. I mean, obviously, since their letter was dated back on April 29th, and DEM's letter is August 22nd, 2024, another week or two is not gonna endanger the project.
And they went to zoning back in November, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And that seems like there was some healthy discussion in that meeting.
It may have been, but again, if I went out and looked at the property today, and again, it's, I would say 3/4 of the cul-de-sac are not, have no homes on it because of the wetland.
Picture, there's a picture.
Diagram of it. It's like a blueprint.
May not be highlighted on yours, could you?
No, good, we see that's that portion where the driveway was. And I think if you can see that one line, right after the word drill hole, you can see that it comes down.
Yeah.
That's the additional area that's involved, but that was already there before. See that line that's drawn with this chain link fence?
Yep.
And the line that's below that?
Yep.
Kind of on an angle? That's the one that cuts through, because you can see the cul-de-sac, right above Pelton Place is kind of like a semicircle.
Yeah.
Just says drill hole set. That's the end of the driveway, the existing driveway.
Proposed driveway gravel. Yeah, honestly, I did a satellite view of this. I didn't drive by.
So DEM isn't concerned about, because the way I read this, they're actually going to add space to their home with 2 bedrooms.
DEM is gonna allow that because of where, again, the watershed area and the changes of the setbacks. The only thing they're looking from the town is that notarized letter.
And planning allowing it doesn't,
Planning's already allowed.
I
So
know.
what you're going to do is basically say to the owner of the property, yes, you can step off your property from where the new driveway is onto Carlton Place. But they already have that right because they're abutting property that abuts a town accepted road.
I think I know where you're going, but shouldn't the,
right,
Your administrative bodies have already
Yeah.
approved it. not
So
so-
we should-
yeah,
that
so
be
why
enough?
would we, yeah, that's my question.
That's the discussion we
Why
had
wouldn't
over a couple
DEM
of
accept
weeks.
that? But they're
Again,
not going to.
when I spoke to Attorney Cronin, he said, and I spoke to Al about it too, and we all had the same kind of conclusion that this makes absolutely no sense, but a notarized letter, again, from the procedural end of things is really not what the council does.
So let me ask you, so if it went before planning and they approved it, why wouldn't that notarized letter come from Al and the town?
It doesn't make a difference where it comes from. I just thought the town manager being the executive branch of government would be the one to sign it along with the town planner. And if you want Al to sign it, he can sign it too. But the only thing I thought it was because of the planning aspect of it, and because of DPW's work on town roads, those 2 departments will be the appropriate people to sign along with the manager. But again, if there's any, I mean, you can't really modify what planning or zoning did. So the question is, if you want to table it and have Mr. Cronin, I think he's going to explain it the same way. They just need a letter. From what,
And there's no other exposure, there's no precedent we're setting, there's no,
nope.
well, that's my only concern.
You're already
Info
allowing,
one.
you're already allowing the abutting properties on Carlton Place get access to the road. So if they make a line change, whether it's in the watershed area or the setback area, that's really not gonna change their right to get onto that road off of the driveway or the property.
But the DEM ultimately has to approve everything.
I would assume so, yes, but I mean,
They
all,
just
they're making
authorize,
as
they
part,
just want us to
as part of
authorize
the
our
package.
aspect of it. They
Right.
ultimately have to
as part of the
approve or
submission,
disapprove
as
this.
part of the submission, they want a letter that allows them to have access, which they already have authority to do.
And that's what, and that's, you know, the staff comments, it appears that additional alterations are required that have not been detected, specifically access onto town right of way within buffer zone, a notarized letter of authorization and new permit application is required.
But when I give, the permit issue doesn't come through the town, it's gonna come through them.
So Al's texting me saying he can answer these questions. Is he on? He must be online.
Oh, that's
Give
good.
them a thing to,
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, this matter came before zoning about a year ago. The problem was that the people who own the property, that Carlton Circle really was not clear. They had a carport that was 2 feet into the town property. They came before zoning requesting that they be allowed to remove the carport and replace it with a garage. They needed zoning because the garage was only going to be 2 feet into their property and no longer on the town property, but they needed setback relief. In addition, since they were removing the carport, they had to change their driveway. They moved the driveway over as you're facing the house to the right-hand side of the house. Again, they needed setback because of the boundaries. The zoning board said this was all fine with them. They were getting the carport out of the town street and they were getting the driveway relocated. The problem was that part of this area was in the wetlands. So the zoning board has a stipulation to approving it. Said, we approve it, we're happy. Instead of going from your carport into the street, you can go from your driveway into the street. But you're gonna need DEM approval for this project because it's in the wetlands. When I saw that on the agenda, and I talked to Tom, I was dumbfounded. I said, basically, what DEM is saying, they want the town council to give you permission to go from your driveway into the public street. And he said, yeah, that's about it. So apparently, because this area is in the wetlands, for some reason, DEM wants the council to say it's okay to go from your driveway into the street. So the zoning board was happy with it. It's just a matter of DEM regulations wanting the council to approve access through a wetland is the best I can make out, understand of it.
Now,
So,
my
so
point of view-
crazy, just crazy,
Sure.
something happens in that area, kid on a bike gets hit by a car, do we have, because we've authorized them to, I mean,
You just,
backing out of their
so
driveway?
we're clear, they had a carport there
Yeah,
that they could drive onto your street.
I get that.
All they do is exchange the driveway for the carport. So they already have a place to get on the street. That's why we had a discussion about why would the council have to be redundant? Because so once you accepted the street and they have a bloody property, they have to be able to get onto the street. We don't have to have, every time somebody moves into that area, you don't have to give them approval. It's already been done. That's why I thought it'd be best for Mark to sign it along with the planner and the DPW director, Jeff Caldwell, because again, the council only works through resolutions and ordinances, not normally not letters of approval. I don't think there's any issue as it relates to liability, anything that the trust has to be brought in on, because again, they already had, even before they, I would say, I don't know when they put the carport in, but even before that, they had access to Carlton Place because the town already accepted the road.
Right.
And then when they put the carport in, they didn't have to come and get, approval from the town to get access to the road. And now that they're doing things, I would think perhaps the right way, because of the changes in DEM and because the zoning board's involved, that's what they made the request. And it doesn't say that it has to come from the town council, it just basically says, a notarized letter of authorization.
Yes. Okay. Mark, you comfortable with that?
Yes.
So I make a motion that we ask the town manager to handle this issue.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Approval of bid award for three-year audit for fiscal years 2025, 2026, and 2027.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Kristen, how are you?
Good, how are you? So we got two bids, CLA and Markham. CLA was the low bidder, but also, I am pleased with their staffing and their proposal, so all around winner. And we already sent it to the Auditor General for their approval, so we just need yours.
Any questions for Kristen?
Oh, you're happy?
I'm very happy.
Comfortable? What's the difference in price?
CLA was
No, from
Oh.
current.
for 30,000.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, and that, I thought that was excellent.
You were expecting more.
I was. I did ask them to sharpen their pencils.
Any questions for Kristen on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank
Ayes
you.
have it.
Cancellation of taxes in the amount of $1,203.45 is requested by the tax.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Move in second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution establishing the position of Municipal Veteran Service Officer.
Move the resolution.
Second.
So there's nothing that I'm looking for a vote on this evening. This is more of for discussion. This proposal has been on my desk for various forms for a couple of years now. It stems from a combination of some legislation that had been proposed several years in a row, seeking municipalities to create a position similar to what I'm proposing now in some fashion. And they, at various times, they were trying to offer some funding that could be shelled out as grants. And it also came up at several town council meetings with some veterans that had proposed doing something similar. So somehow between the budget time, I found the time to freshen it up a bit. Essentially, what I'm proposing is a resource for our resident veterans, or anybody for that matter who happens to go on our website. We have on our website, a community service page with resources. So I'm proposing that we have some veterans, as described a little bit further here, that would be liaisons to veterans and their families and dependents, to help guide them through various federal, state, nonprofit, and essentially even some town services. So they would be the conduit between the veterans, the veteran community, and government. They wouldn't specifically be doing anything for the town other than being a resource to veterans and their families and dependents, and maybe have a closer connection to some local West Warwick representatives, whether it be the police department and its navigator, to know what type of services that they could offer, or if they're ever in need, they'd have easy direct contact with select people. Same thing with the fire department and paramedicine, or DPW, or the tax assessor's office. So just to kind of synopsis, and obviously this is just in draft form. I sent it out to several people who provided feedback, including retired General Protaka and a few others. And I listed some of the duties, not an all-inclusive list, But essentially to be able to meet with the veteran spouses and dependents at a location to be determined to determine eligibility for financial, medical, or administrative assistance. Assisting the same group with applications for benefits. Identify alternatives, resources that may be available for whatever their needs are. Working within the veteran community for housing, furniture, food, transportation, employment, healthcare, mental health care, and any other needs. Maintaining knowledge of pertinent state and federal regulations. Maybe even participate with our various town events that involve our veterans. One of the suggestions that came was certain certification that comes out of the Veterans Administration that allows it's a VSO, a Veteran Service Officer, in the Veterans Administration terminology, that they can apply directly through their system for benefits. So one of the suggestion was to encourage anyone that would seek this volunteer position to get that certification so they could help, but certainly not a requirement. I believe the first iteration of this was to have one person do it, but in my opinion, I kind of treat this as like your doctor's office or your own clinician, where the more the merrier, the more options you have, the better. If we had some people step up from the various armed service branches, maybe somebody makes that connection and helps them along in a responsible, respective way. So I kind of envision a website resource with the list of people and their branches and contact information, along with any other veteran resources that we can post. And we can see how it works. If it, I kind of put this down for a 2-year trial period to see how it would work, and then we can make some changes as we see fit.
I would agree with you based on the diversity and magnitude of the responsibilities that maybe it would be too much for one person. We might be better off having more than one. And if we can, I agree with you, the more the merrier. Can I ask you, use the word temporary?
Another community that did this a couple of years ago this is mostly mirrored on their
Yeah,
program
okay.
with some additional
Yep.
suggestions locally, and they did it as a 2-year trial basis. And then, so they'd have a date to come back to discuss pros,
Right.
cons, how to change it, how to make it better,
Okay.
or whether to continue it. They have since continued it, but that was just something to put on a calendar.
So they've had some success with this?
On a smaller basis, it's a more rural community. I would envision, I think we have fairly active veterans organizations here, so I would think it could be a usable resource. And the reason I kind of stepped up to do it now is, I could get additional feedback, have this proposed formally at our May 20th meeting, and they could announce it at the Memorial Day
Yeah,
celebration
yeah.
across the street. And have those that may be interested or know somebody that may be interested, reach out to us.
Perfect. So you don't need a vote. for
Here, I
this?
don't need a vote, just if anyone has any suggestions, or you have any other veteran folks that might have a suggestion, or eventually, should it be approved, are interested in helping, we'd love to hear from them.
And if we don't meet on, you still pose this at the,
I mean, we could announce that we anticipate it being passed in the following week. And please watch, stay tuned.
any questions for Mark, concerns?
No, sounds like a good idea.
Thank you, Mark.
Resolution adopting the 2025 Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan update.
So
Move the resolution.
a few weeks ago, we had a brief presentation on our 2025 Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan update. It's gone through our internal checks and balances. It's been approved now by Rhode Island Emergency Management Agency and has a provisional approval through FEMA pending adoption by the town. So this is more or less the final stage before our approval is formalized through FEMA. And then we can post the document and make it available on our website.
Any questions for Mark? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution in support of Senate Bill S 57 and House Bill H 5393 regarding the maintenance of sidewalks.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second.
So these bills have made the news lately, and the League of Cities and Towns is requesting assistance and support for these two bills. Having DPW directors submit some support and as well resolutions from town councils. So essentially, this resolution states that you would support the Senate bill and the House bill that would require that maintenance of sidewalks along state highways become the responsibility of the state. The Rhode Island Department of Transportation already has authority to properly maintain sidewalks along state rights of ways. League of Cities and Town is supportive and advocating for these two bills. The Rhode Island Public Works Association is supportive of this legislation. And the town's administration believes that this legislation is in the best interest of our town and its citizens.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, is there any downside to this? I mean, and is there any
I mean-
chance it's gonna pass?
Honestly, I think it's gonna pass whether they get appropriate funding to take care of it, but they have better resources, and especially, I mean, I don't know how it would be currently under, getting federal assistance, but at some point, I think it would make more sense for them to control that. I mean, we clearly can't do it.
But don't we sometimes wind up spraying the weeds and doing, I mean, we wind up doing it.
We
Right.
help sometimes.
Yeah.
We help when needed. That's fair.
Yeah.
But when we have, for instance, Providence Street, I know there's some wheelchair accessibility and potholes and all that. Nobody wants to take responsibility for that. It's a state road, state sidewalk. So I think it's fair to us and fair to the state. They maintain their sidewalks along their streets, just like we do. We have to on our town roads, so.
I think it coincides with our efforts with the Safe Streets plan.
Yeah.
To help push that forward, even if it involves us jointly working with RIDOT at some point to seek grant funding.
Any idea what the feedback's been from our communities?
As far as I know, this week and next, most communities are putting resolutions forward.
And Sarah, I think if this passes tonight, can we also send, even though they're gonna get a copy of this, can we also send it to our state delegation, Tom Norway, Ro Reed, Senator Burke, and Pat Cirque?
Yeah.
Rep. Cirque.
The league sent a list of people, about
I'd still like to.
8 or 9,
Yeah.
and it also suggested you're local, so.
Yeah.
Between the two of us, we'll make sure it gets out.
Awesome. Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
School building committee update.
Okay, first, we're in the process of submitting answers to the stage 2 requests for information. We decided at a recent meeting that we weren't going to push those answers out by, I think, today or tomorrow, whatever the deadline was, that we gradually get those answers in, especially as we can more develop and refine plans. So the final answers will be submitted by September for the December consideration. Second, we're tentatively moving forward with Payon Street design and application for stage 3 review, which is the construction process. And finally, we're doing talking about internal funding scenarios and bonding capacity. And the next school building committee is scheduled for Wednesday, May 21st at 4 o'clock in the media center.
Any questions for Mark, Mary Beth, and myself? Thank you for the update.
Upcoming appointments, sewer use board to review appointment to fill a vacancy as an alternate member for a 3-year term. Sewer Use Board of Review, appointment to fill a vacancy as a regular member for a 3-year term. Tax Assessment Board of Review, appointment to fill a vacancy for a 3-year term. School Building Committee, Tree Warden has been filled this evening. Recreation Committee, appointment to fill a vacancy for a 3-year term, and Patuxent River Authority, appointment to fill a vacancy for an unexpired term ending June 2026.
Can I ask about the recreation committee? Because I have someone who's asked about becoming a member of that, but there's
Same
some,
member. I had somebody ask me about becoming a member too, so I know we're looking at.
I thought we were trying to figure out how that best works and you were gonna take a look at
I
that.
know we spoke about it at a meeting maybe 4 meetings ago. I don't remember the specifics. I know I still have the folder on
Okay,
top of my desk.
I have not
but-
gotten back to the individual because I didn't know the answer to that, so.
Interesting, so it's with the same individual because. There's more, like, I think one of the biggest concerns is not
We
being
don't have
able to
enough.
keep it active
Right.
and getting.
Yes.
So it's only one.
Yeah.
I was hoping for 2, but it's only one. And so, and I think my response was that the board has been a little stale per se. And, but that person, if we're gonna decide what we're gonna do with the recreation committee, which we need to probably decide. I mean, the Patuxent River Authority would be not a bad area for that individual leaving. It's in line, but not as close, but again, I know you're saying, because I didn't know where we stood with it.
Yeah, so I didn't wanna,
All right, any questions on the upcoming appointments?
Upcoming town council meetings and events, May 8th, 2025, town council budget vote, May 20th, 2025, regular town council meeting, June 3rd, 2025, regular town council meeting, and June 17th, 2025, regular town council meeting, public forum.
We want to discuss May 20th here.
why do you say that?
Well, that is, I mean, people away
Oh, all right.
and, Sarah, I don't think is gonna be here. Martin was.
I come back that afternoon.
He comes back that afternoon.
The only item I had on my note now is school building committee updates, so.
And we don't have any licenses pending, so anybody have an issue with canceling the May 20th meeting? So we make it public now, that
Yeah, that's fine.
May 20th meeting will be canceled. See you June 3rd.
Or Thursday.
Oh, yeah, Thursdays. Well, they might not show up Thursday.
All right, public forum.
Any public comment? Half house,
No,
need a motion.
nothing online.
Moving to
Move into
executive
executive session.
Pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 4246-5A2 litigation and Rhode Island General Law 42-46-5A5 acquisition or sale of property.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? See you Thursday night, hopefully.